Hello, and welcome to the College Week Live presentation for the College of Engineering at UC Davis. First of all, I want to congratulate you guys on getting admitted to Davis. It is a difficult school to get into, so congratulations. That alone is an accomplishment itself. And to those students who are still planning to apply in the next year, I look forward to your application soon. Now, my name is Colin. I'm a third-year civil and environmental engineering major. I have been doing research with one of my professors for about a year. I also have time, surprisingly, to run some marathons every now and then. So that's a lot of time. And on top of that, school. So lots of stuff that I've been doing lately. A little bit about me. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm in a little town called Danville, or Walnut Creek, for those who don't know where that is, or just Bay Area. And I chose Davis just because I didn't know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life after graduating from high school. If you do, congratulations. If you don't, it's normal. So Davis had quite a lot of opportunities in terms of changing your major or just majors in general. So specifically, the College of Engineering has 14 different majors, ranging from civil to mechanical to aerospace to biomedical to biological and agricultural to materials to biomed. I think I already said that. But case in point, there's a lot of majors. And the curriculum for the first 2 years for those majors, for almost all of them, are almost all the same. So if you realize after 2 years, I don't want to be an electrical engineer, easy. You just change your major, so long as you have a certain number of courses completed, you have a certain GPA, and you're good. So, on to the presentation. So, Davis has one of the largest engineering colleges in the UC system, mostly because of our 14 majors and our rather large number of undergraduates, so about 3,000, and it's slowly increasing, so hopefully you guys will join. And we have about 200 faculty members. So what those numbers say is it's a 15-to-1 ratio. Sometimes it'll vary. I know some classes I've taken have been, for engineering courses, upwards of 100 students for one professor, but then there's also teaching assistants, which are graduate students in that particular field or major, who break students out into discussion groups about once or twice a week and then help them with problem-solving sessions or almost like a second lecture. And they also hold office hours in addition to the professors. And we are relatively high ranked. I mean, we're in the top 20. So, pretty good. Now, a few things about the actual campus. There's 5 engineering buildings. We have Kemper Hall, Gauzy Hall, the Genome Building, Boehner Hall, and Geet Hall. Geet Hall is more of the lecture halls, so some of your engineering courses will be in there. And Kemper Hall is where the dean's office is located, and also where the computer and electrical engineering departments are. Gauzy Hall is where civil and environmental engineering is housed. The Genome Building is a little far off campus. It's where the biomedical department is held, and then we have Boehner, which is the mech department, the biological and agricultural department, and our chemistry department. Now, one thing that I'll kind of touch on later is the advising. So your major advisors or peer advisors, so students who are in the same major who are good with advising or just good or good students in general, they'll actually be housed in those departments, and if you ever have any questions about that, you'll be able to talk to them. So, in general, a few tips about engineering if you guys are interested. So, the main thing is engineering is really about teamwork. So, at the end of the day, engineers can't really accomplish much by themselves. You always need to work in a group. And that is one thing that is strongly encouraged in the coursework you'll be taking here. So you will have, or one example is I took a foundation design course last quarter. It's very difficult. We had a 150-page design report due in 10 weeks, a lot of work, but it was in a group of 3 people, so we managed to distribute the work relatively well. taught us how to work well with students, or with other students, with other engineers, and it really taught us how to manage our time, because a 150-page design report you can't complete in a weekend. It takes a whole quarter to do. And that kind of goes back, or that kind of goes into the fact that you got to pace yourself. You can't just cram. So one thing is that when you're taking a test, you don't want to study the night before. You could do well. Often you won't, and you'll often forget the material, which will just make it harder down the road when you take a class that actually builds on that knowledge you were supposed to learn. So don't wait till the last minute to study. Try and study with groups, and really pace yourself. So as on the slide it says about 50 to 60 hours of class. The rule of thumb is about 2 hours of studying or homework outside of 1 hour of lecture. So if you're taking 13 units, which is a fairly low course, or a fairly low load, you would have to take up to 26, or it's recommended that you do at least 26 hours of work outside of the classroom. And again, manage your time. So, on to the next one. Here's a list of majors. There's 14 of them. I would rather not go into depth about all of them. There's actually a, on the engineering website, so engineering.ucdavis.edu, or engineering.ucdavis.edu. There's a summary of all the different majors. I recommend that if you are unsure or if you are interested in some of these majors, to read them to get a better understanding, and then kind of navigate to those department websites. Go to those specific majors, and there'll be a much more thorough explanation. There'll be examples of student projects and so on and so forth. So, what do engineers do? Well, at the end of the day, we're problem solvers, but the engineer's job is to also kind of bridge the gap between application and science. A lot of the times you don't have, well, you'll have scientists who are on this really, really, advanced research, but then it's really, really difficult to actually apply, make applicable, mass produce it, and that's kind of where the engineer comes in, tries to solve that problem. And a lot of what we do nowadays is modeling. So stuff like AutoCAD, stuff like 3D modeling, structural analysis programs, anything on the computer to make our work easier. So instead of spending 15 hours trying to draw a sketch, do a bunch of different iterations for doing a calculation, so figuring out the settlement on a foundation, for example, you have to do numerous iterations to try and figure out the proper size of that foundation. You can just kind of plug it into Excel or plug it into a model. 5 minutes later, you have an answer. So technology is very important for engineers. So believe it or not, engineering is fun. Especially, it's kind of having that feeling of success of working on a problem for about 10 hours or 2 straight weeks or a full quarter for a design report and then turning it in and being really, really proud of it. That's surprisingly fun. You feel very accomplished once you complete a hard class, hard project, or hard assignment. So, with that, what skills do you need? So it is highly, highly, highly recommended that students are very good at math and science. Hopefully you guys know this. If you applied to the College of Engineering and got in, probably because you guys were good in math and science. That doesn't mean you have to enjoy it. You just have to be good at it. Just because all of the engineering coursework, all the equations are all based on those fundamental knowledge, or the fundamental knowledge of math and physics and science. But believe it or not, engineers actually have to communicate with other people. Like I said earlier, you have to be able to work as a group. Otherwise, stuff will not get done. In industry, people will not give you complete control of an entire project early on. You will have to work with other junior engineers to complete a large project. So business skills also come in handy, because if you ever are interested in running a firm, owning a firm, or kind of moving it up in a company to a VP or a owner, business is important. So, why should you go to UC Davis? Well, we're good. We're in the top 20. And as I mentioned earlier, the advising services. So, engineering students have a mandatory advising hold for every year they attend here. So, every year they have to see their major advisor to schedule the next year's worth of courses to try and get you out in 4 years. And actually, a common question people will ask is it a 4-year program? The answer is, I'm told to say yes, it is a 4-year program. That being said, it is difficult to complete it in 4 years. People do it. Some people take a little bit extra. I've taken a little bit extra just because I can't handle 4 to 5 upper division engineering courses on top of work, on top of research, on top of all that stuff. So I'm just kind of slowing down a little bit, but I found that taking less courses each quarter will actually allow you to understand the material, get a better grasp of it, and feel like you learned a little bit more. Obviously, that's just me. It'll vary from person to person. And it's something you guys will find out sooner rather than later, hopefully. And another thing is industry knows that UC Davis produces really good graduates, and this kind of goes into there's a center on campus called the Internship and Career Center. What it is it is a group of individuals who it is a organization that brings companies to campus during career fairs and also tries to get undergrads hired either during a summer for an internship or once they graduate and go into industry. Now, those career fairs, there's actually 4 every quarter. There's one specifically for engineering majors. That happens in usually late January, so start of winter quarter. About 150 engineering companies come to campus to hire UC Davis undergrads. So the support system, very good. Everyone wants to get you guys a job. Industry knows we produce good graduates, and that's why they come here. They know that we have good students. Another nice thing is that so one thing about a research university, which University of California, Davis is, as well as the other UCs, is that all the professors have to do some sort of research. Now, I've kind of alluded to the fact that I have been doing research as a student here. I started the beginning of my junior year, and I've been working with the same professor ever since. It is a very, very, very rewarding experience. It can also be pretty stressful sometimes, but it is really worth it. You'll end up learning more than the typical undergrad. You will be able to network with professors. You'll be able to get references when you're actually applying to jobs. You'll be able to get letters of rec when you're applying to scholarships. You'll be able, it is crazy how well established professors are, and the professors at UC Davis are known the world over. So if you can get a letter of rec from them or say that, yeah, this guy likes me, you're golden. So that's good, and it's also a really big challenge. So professors will know that you guys are good students, and they will challenge you. They will push you beyond normal limits of what the typical undergraduate education will be. Another nice thing why Davis is a good school is that there's a bunch of student organizations on campus, so specific to engineering. So we have examples such as the American Society of Civil Engineers, also known as ASCE. We have the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, also known as AICHE, AICHE, and a bunch of different organizations such as Society of Women Engineers, Women in Science and Engineering, a bunch of different organizations. Most of those organizations actually have student-run projects, such as GeoWall, which is a retaining structure that is, there's some complexities to it, but essentially you're designing and building a retaining wall similar to what you'll see on the side of a highway. You have Concrete Canoe, which is exactly what it sounds like. You have a canoe made out of concrete. You have Chemcar. You have Baja, which is a all-terrain vehicle that you actually make from scratch. So it's pretty cool. There's a lot of different options you'll have in terms of student organizations, and it's up to you guys in terms of what you'll want to actually do. You aren't limited to the student projects by your major. I know I used to work with the Concrete Canoe team, and we had design students. We had mechanical engineers for some of the analysis programs. We had some chemical engineers to kind of figure out some of the complexities in the concrete mix. So you're not just limited to those student groups by your major. And another thing is this. At the end of the day, if the graduates from Davis aren't happy, we aren't doing a good job. Luckily they are, which means we are doing a good job. So I would not be sitting here and talking to you guys about the College of Engineering if I did not absolutely love it here. So obviously take some of what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I love it here. I'm a little biased, but sometimes you run into a bit of a rut. You gotta get over it. It's life. But overall, Davis is awesome. If you guys got in, I strongly recommend you come here. You'll have plenty of opportunities in terms of graduate education or just getting your undergraduate and going out into school, going out into industry, or working with faculty during research, doing student projects, a bunch of different stuff. So that is the majority of the presentation. So from now, I'm going to be kind of opening it up to questions. So if you guys have any specific questions about the College of Engineering, or maybe broader questions, what is engineering? What kind of stuff do I do outside of work, research, and running? Feel free to ask. And yeah. So what do you like most about the engineering program at Davis? I like the challenge. It's not easy, and if it wasn't easy, it wouldn't be fun. So I get a lot of excitement when like I've said before, when I complete a massive project, when I get a nice little A+ on my report card from a professor. It makes me feel like I really accomplished something. So it's very fun to actually be able to complete something that is difficult. And you'll lose a few nights on it, but in that case, it makes for some pretty interesting conversations with your buddies. So, what kind of research are you doing? What is it like working with professors or research? So, specifically, I'm doing research in the field of geotechnical engineering, which is a subdivision of civil engineering. And in geotechnical engineering, I'm actually in another subdivision, which is earthquake engineering. So what the research is focusing on is liquefaction mitigation. And all you really need to know about liquefaction at this point is think of quicksand. So if you try to put a building on quicksand, not going to end so well. So there's different processes of fixing that, fixing liquefaction so it doesn't actually happen. And one of the ways is kind of a group effort between the civil engineering department and the biological department. We're actually using bacteria to prevent liquefaction. So it can get pretty complicated, but it is really interesting. And what is it like working with professors? So professors are very, 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 very smart people. They will make you feel like you don't know too much, but they are also very supportive. So that, like I said before, they will challenge you. They will make sure that you know your stuff. So it is challenging, it's hard work, stressful sometimes, but it is a lot of fun. You get to work with a lot of graduate students who also know a lot of stuff, so you'll be able to get, like I said before, a little bit more out of your undergrad if you do research. And I obviously strongly recommend research if you can get it. A lot of professors love undergrads, so they will be more than willing to hire you. So, I do not get the honors program. So, I'm assuming this is more in relation to the Davis Honors Challenge. What it is, I can't talk specifically about it. I know a general idea of what it is. It's essentially a honor society, surprise, and you need to keep up a certain GPA. You're required to take additional coursework on top of some of your courses, and you'll also get priority registration, which is next. That's all I really know about. But there should be information on the website or on just ucdavis.edu, Google or search Davis Honors Challenge or Integrated Studies Program. You'll be able to find a lot of information on that. So another question is, do you have time for fun/social stuff outside of class? Yes, you have time if you're willing to make that time. So there's students who end up taking 20, 22 units a quarter. so that ends up being about 5 or 6 classes. That's a lot of time. There's people who take less courses but have work on top of that. There's other people who just take the recommended amount of courses and they have plenty of free time. They'll be able to go out with their friends. They'll be able to play intramural sports. They'll be able to go on sports teams. They'll be able to travel. Tahoe's, I believe, about 2.5-hour drive, so that's what actually a lot of people end up doing during winter break, assuming it snows, and during winter quarter on top of that. So, how similar or different is bioengineering to the college? Ooh, this is a long one. How similar or different is the bioengineering to the College of Biological Sciences, as in classes, research, etc.? The student is interested in bioengineering and is thinking of transferring from her current the current major, which is biological sciences. I apologize if I'm using acronyms. It's the force of habit. So, biological sciences will be focusing a lot on biological sciences, so biology, chemistry, organic chemistry. As with biological engineers, that's where kind of the similarity ends. After that, the biological engineering courses end up picking up in terms of hard math and physics. It gets much more difficult. It gets a lot more applicable at the same time. But this information is again on the website, so engineering.ucdavis.edu, and you'll actually be able to navigate to the biological and agricultural engineering department and read up a little bit more on that. So, are there a lot of hands-on projects for all the undergraduate engineering students? It is up to you guys to get those hands-on experience. You'll need to actually be able to go out, talk to those student organizations that I mentioned earlier. They're also on the website. And you'll actually be able to contact the project manager who is a student. Say, I'm interested in going to the info session, which most of them will have, and you'll be able to get started right away. Depending on your expertise level, if you have a general understanding of some of the modeling programs, which is rare, but if you do, you'll be able to kind of work along that. If not, you'll be able to do a lot of the construction work, so the hands-on work. That's what a lot of people always ask. It's what a lot of people always enjoy, is that hands-on experience. And it is on top of research, which is, yes, it is hands-on. It's not always in front of a computer. And those student projects. Are there a lot of internships for aerospace engineering? You bet there are. So, like I said before, there's a specific career fair for Davis that is, yes, it is for Davis, but there's also one specifically for the College of Engineering. So it's officially dubbed the Physical Sciences and Engineering Career Fair. A lot of the companies are engineering. That is where you will go for internships. Companies will be there looking to hire undergraduates. That being said, some of the companies will be looking for people outside of their freshman year. So once they get out of those math courses, some of the physics, and start getting into more of the core engineering courses, that's when companies start to look for you, because they don't have to train you as much. And let's see. What do I want to do, what do I want to do after I graduate? So my plan is master's. I came into Davis thinking I'm going to get my 4 years, get a bachelor's degree, go out and work and be happy. Then I started doing research, and that was what was the real kind of turning point. I realized that research is what I want to do. It's interesting. It's stuff nobody's ever done before. It's stuff nobody's ever thought of before. And I'm sitting there in the lab working on it, working with a professor who's incredibly smart and knows everything there is to know about that subject. So being able to work with someone like that, networking with them, is what I plan to do in terms of a master's program, possibly a PhD. So it's all really up in the air at this point. I still have some time to decide. So I believe that is it for time. Again, I recommend going to the engineering website, so engineering.ucdavis.edu, for more information on the particular majors, which I didn't touch on as much. It is a good resource, and I hope you guys choose the right school for you, whether that is Davis or not. And hopefully I will be seeing some of you in the fall. Thank you.